In this case, I will be discussing a university level first team tennis player. The tennis player felt a pulling sensation in her right shoulder, however continued to play 4 more shots but then had to stop due to the pain. This was then later diagnosed as a grade 2 infraspinatus strain. Her aggravating factors were stated to be reaching overhead, for example such as getting something out of the cupboard, reaching her arm back as if to put her coat on, and lying directly onto the right shoulder. She found that easing factors were rest and paracetamol. We are in the early rehab phase, and the aim of our session is to increase range of motion through pain-free range. The main exercise in my session will be side-lying internal rotation, and later on I will be discussing progressions and regressions. I begin my session with introducing myself to my client as to make sure to ask how they are feeling on this day specifically. I then explain that we're in the early phase of the infraspinatus grade 2 shoulder strain. I then proceed to explain that this session is based on side-lying internal rotation, explaining that this is more suitable and appropriate for this stage as we are moving with gravity rather than against, causing less stress on the shoulder. I then make sure to ask if my client is happy with everything I've said so far. I explain that I'll be using a jumper under the elbow to keep a neutral shoulder and to make sure that she felt as though she had set up a sturdy base. I then proceed to give my client a demonstration as to what is being asked of her, explaining that her full range of motion may look different to mine. I then gave her 3 coaching points, the first being to make sure that she did not allow the shoulder to roll forward, the second being not to allow the trunk to twist while performing the movement, and the last being that she should not allow the shoulder to shrug up to the ear. I then gained consent that she felt comfortable with performing this herself. As she began to set herself up, I made sure that she had felt that she had set herself up sturdily. I then prescribed for her to do 3 sets of 8 reps in her full pain-free range. Once she had started to perform the first set by herself, I watched her form and also made sure that she was not in any discomfort and felt comfortable throughout. I made sure to look at her from many different angles to make sure that she was in the correct positioning. Once she had performed her first set, I asked her how strenuous she felt that exercise was on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extremely hard and could only just perform the movement. However, she stated that she was only feeling around a 4 or 5, meaning I could progress this. I therefore proceeded to progress this by adding a 1.25 kg weight for her to hold while carrying out the movement. I then set her the prescription of 3 sets in 8 reps in full pain-free range. I then explained that we're expecting this to be harder than the first, but to let me know if it was painful at any point, as we were trying to work out where she was at in the recovery of this injury. Throughout her performance, I asked her how she was feeling and if there was any discomfort. I made sure to watch her face to see if there was any points where she looked like she was wincing. Once she was done, I then repeated the question as to where she felt as though she was on the scale of 1 to 10. She then stated that she was at a 7, which is where I was aiming for her to be. I then performed a regression that we could have used if she had found the first exercise too hard. This was being shoulder internal rotation laying on the back. I explained that this was a regression as by having her lay flat on the floor, it means that the shoulder is less likely to move due to the scapula being flat to the floor. However, due to finding the first exercise too easy, this was not necessary for her to perform.